The dim glow of the flickering streetlight outside cast eerie shadows on the cracked pavement as I approached the seemingly ordinary 7-Eleven. It was a chilly night, and an unsettling feeling crept over me as I stepped through the entrance. The store was eerily quiet, the only sound being the soft hum of the refrigerators. I wandered down the narrow aisles, my footsteps echoing in the silence. The fluorescent lights above buzzed intermittently, casting an unsettling pallor over everything. Shelves were stocked with a bizarre assortment of items: expired snacks, dusty magazines, and oddly old-fashioned merchandise that seemed out of place in the modern world. As I browsed, a chill ran down my spine when I realized I was not alone. A figure stood at the far end of an aisle, partially obscured by the shadows. Their posture was unnaturally still, like a statue frozen in time. My heart raced as I tried to shake off the feeling that something was very wrong. I turned a corner and found myself facing a display of faded candy wrappers. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement. I turned quickly, but there was nothing there. Just the empty aisle and the unsettling sensation that someone was watching me. I decided to make my way to the counter, hoping to check out and leave as quickly as possible. The cashier's face was partially hidden by the hood of their oversized jacket. They didn't speak, but the gleam in their eyes was unsettling, as if they knew something I didn't. I placed my items on the counter, my fingers trembling slightly. The cashier scanned them with deliberate slowness, the beeping of the scanner echoing in the empty store. Finally, they spoke in a hushed whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "Be careful what you take from this place," they said cryptically, their eyes locked onto mine. Before I could respond, the lights above us flickered and went out, plunging the store into darkness. Panic surged within me, and I fumbled for my phone, using its feeble light to guide me. When the lights finally came back on, the cashier was gone, leaving the counter empty. I stumbled towards the exit, my heart pounding in my chest. As I pushed the door open, a cold gust of wind rushed in, extinguishing the candles at the small shrine just outside. I glanced back at the store, feeling an inexplicable sense of foreboding. The storefront seemed to shimmer and waver, as if it were fading away. I hurried away from the 7-Eleven, the unsettling experience still fresh in my mind. The store's facade grew smaller behind me, and just as I thought I was free, a whisper seemed to float on the wind, sending a chill through my bones. Remember, some places are best left unexplored. I quickened my pace, vowing to never return to that unsettling 7-Eleven and hoping to escape the lingering feeling that it held secrets beyond my comprehension. The wind howled outside as I pushed open the creaking door of the 7-Eleven. My heart raced, partly from the chill in the air and partly from the stories I'd heard about this place. They said strange things happened here at night, but I needed to grab some essentials, and it was my only option. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting eerie shadows on the worn linoleum floors. The shelves were half-stocked with dusty products, and a faint odor of stale coffee hung in the air. I grabbed a basket, trying to shake off the unease settling in my gut. As I walked down the narrow aisles, the soft hum of the coolers seemed to carry whispers, like distant voices. I reached the back corner of the store where a flickering sign announced the presence of the frozen section. The glass doors were foggy, and I hesitated before opening one. Inside, the frigid air hit me, making me shiver. My fingers brushed against the frost-covered packages as I searched for the ice cream I wanted. Just as I grabbed one, I caught a glimpse of a figure in the reflection of the glass. I turned around, my heart pounding in my chest. But there was no one there. I laughed nervously, chalking it up to my imagination playing tricks on me. I headed to the counter to pay, but the cashier's face was hidden in the shadows of the hoodie they were wearing. They didn't speak, just scanned my items and nodded. As I walked back toward the entrance, a faint whisper echoed through the store. It was barely audible, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I turned around, my eyes scanning the dimly lit aisles. My gaze locked onto a row of shelves, where rows of chips and snacks lined up neatly. But something was off. One of the chip bags rustled, as if moved by an invisible hand. I backed away slowly, my heart racing again. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to leave, but I needed to pay for my items. I continued toward the exit, and that's when I noticed the mural on the wall. A bright, cheerful depiction of a sunny day, but with dark smudges that seemed to be spreading across the canvas. I blinked, convinced that my mind was playing tricks on me, but the smudges continued to grow. I finally reached the door, my hands trembling as I pulled it open. The wind outside was a welcome relief, and I stepped onto the sidewalk, glancing back at the store. The lights inside flickered one last time before plunging into darkness. My heart raced as I walked away, unable to shake the feeling that something otherworldly had been lurking within those walls. To this day, I avoid that 7, 11 after dark. The whispers, the shadows, and the strange occurrences still haunt me. I can't help but wonder what secrets that store holds, hidden behind its faded exterior and flickering lights. And I can't shake the feeling that I narrowly escaped something truly sinister that night. As the rain poured relentlessly outside, I found myself seeking shelter in the seemingly ordinary 7-Eleven convenience store. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows on the shelves, giving the store an unsettling vibe. I approached the counter, only to find it deserted. I called out, my voice echoing through the dimly lit aisles, but there was no response. Nervously, I began to browse the shelves, trying to distract myself from the growing sense of unease. The products on the shelves seemed to shift and move on their own, as if they were watching me. I chalked it up to my imagination, running wild, but my heart raced nonetheless. I picked up a can of soda, and as I did, I heard a faint whisper coming from the depths of the store. Startled, I turned around, scanning the store for the source of the sound. That's when I saw it, a figure standing at the end of one of the aisles, partially hidden in the shadows. My heart froze as I met its gaze. Its eyes were empty voids, devoid of any humanity. I stumbled backward, dropping the soda can with a clang that seemed to reverberate through the store. I tried to convince myself that it was just a trick of the light, my mind playing tricks on me, but the figure began to approach, its footsteps echoing like a haunting melody. I backed away, my feet feeling like they were stuck in molasses. The store seemed to stretch on forever, the aisles twisting and turning, leading me deeper into a nightmarish labyrinth. I turned a corner, hoping to find an exit, but all I found was another row of shelves, each filled with products that seemed more surreal by the moment. Cans with grotesque faces, snacks that wriggled as if alive. The store was a twisted mockery of reality. Panic gripped me as I realized that I was trapped, the walls of the store closing in on me with every step. The figure was now right behind me, its icy breath grazing my neck. I could feel its malevolent presence, a force that seemed to feed off my fear. I sprinted down the aisle, desperate to escape, but no matter how fast I ran, the store seemed to stretch infinitely ahead. My breath came in ragged gasps as I stumbled and fell, my hand scraping against the cold linoleum floor. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it all stopped. The figure vanished, the shelves returned to normal, and the lights steadied. I found myself back at the entrance of the store, rain still falling outside. I fled, not looking back, my heart still pounding in my chest. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that the 7-Eleven was more than just a convenience store, that it was a gateway to something darker, something beyond our understanding. The experience left me scarred, forever haunted by the memory of those empty eyes and the twisted reality of that nightmarish place. The rain poured relentlessly as I stepped into the dimly lit 7-Eleven, seeking refuge from the storm. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the rows of snacks and drinks. A chill ran down my spine as the door slammed shut behind me, leaving me alone in this unsettling atmosphere. I wandered down the narrow aisles, the sound of my footsteps echoing eerily against the linoleum floor. The shelves were stocked with various items, but something felt off. The air was thick with an unnatural silence, broken only by the occasional creaking of the store's ancient cooling system. As I approached the counter, I noticed an old cashier who seemed to materialize out of thin air. His eyes were sunken and devoid of any warmth, and his lips curled into a strange smile as he greeted me. "Welcome to our humble abode," he whispered, his voice sending shivers down my spine. Unease settled in as I attempted to pay for the items I had picked up. The cashier's bony fingers moved with an unnatural speed as he scanned each item. His eyes never left mine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was peering into my very soul. Just as I was about to leave, a voice echoed through the store. "You can't leave just yet." It whispered, so close that I could feel its icy breath on my neck. I turned, heart racing, only to find no one there. Panic surged within me as I realized that I was not alone in this seemingly empty store. A flickering light drew my attention to the back corner of the store. There, standing in the shadows, was a figure dressed in tattered clothes. Its face was obscured, but I could sense its malevolent gaze fixated on me. I tried to move, but my legs felt like lead. Rooted to the spot, the figure began to approach, its steps slow and deliberate. Fear constricted my chest as I finally managed to tear my gaze away and sprinted towards the exit. The door, however, refused to budge. It was as if the very walls of the store were closing in around me. I turned back to see the figure now, mere feet away, its twisted grin inches from my face. The room seemed to warp and twist, the shelves contorting into grotesque shapes. In a desperate bid for escape, I stumbled backward, crashing into a display of snacks that seemed to writhe and pulse like living creatures. As I lay there, surrounded by the bizarre and the terrifying, I realized that this 7-Eleven was no ordinary convenience store. It was a place where reality and nightmare converged, where the boundaries between the living and the otherworldly were blurred beyond recognition. The last thing I saw before darkness consumed me was the cashier's face, contorted into a mirthless grin, his laughter echoing in my ears, and then silence. I woke up on the wet pavement outside the store, the rain still falling heavily. The 7-Eleven stood before me, ordinary and innocuous. Had it all been a dream, or had I truly stepped into a realm of horror beyond imagination? To this day, I can't pass by a 7-Eleven without a shiver running down my spine. The memory of that night still haunts me, a reminder that even the most familiar places can hide unspeakable terrors. Subscribe for more horror stories.